We might have it now, so maybe we'll just hold on. Oh, all right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Adem Bria. I'm the chair of the CB11 Housing Committee. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:37 p.m. on Tuesday, May 6th. Going to go over some ground rules for the meeting. No one may speak until granted the floor. CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. To raise your hand through Zoom, click the participants icon and you will find the raise hand function there. Members should not engage in a back and forth discussion. The chair will recognize the next person to speak. Please keep your questions and comments brief and on topic to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subjects on the agenda, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized. All right, Angel, if you could please take the roll.
Members, when I call your name, please answer. President Adem Bria.
Present.
David Giordano. David Giordano. Okay, he's present. Christina Johnson.
Present.
Wilfredo Lopez. Jessica Morris.
Here.
Beverly Cabon. Cynthia Ramos. Dawn Sanders. Loretta So. Candy Vivas Vasquez.
Here.
Jason Wu.
Present.
We have one.
Okay.
I'm here. I'm here as well.
Do you hear me, Angel, or no?
Now,
Yes, I saw your thumbs up. You're good.
okay, with that said,
Angel, did you hear me?
John, we heard you. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that said, we're going to move to the adoption of this month's agenda. So unless there's any objections, we will adopt this month's agenda. Angel, just keep me on the loop with the hands there. All right, seeing no objections, then this month's agenda has been adopted. And I finally caught up for the minutes, so I did a bunch. So adoption of minutes for February, March, and the April meetings. I'll try to do it monthly moving forward, but if I see no objections, we will adopt the minutes from February, March, and April. Okay, seeing no objections, then we've adopted all three of those months' meeting minutes. Okay, we'll move to announcements and informational updates. Before I have one, but before I do, does anyone else have any? Okay, no, so just so we're all aware, tonight's meeting was supposed to look a little different. Ascendant was supposed to come in and present on PAC Rad PAC. They have not, they could not make it. They say they're going to come in June. So we'll see if that happens. We're pushing for that to happen. So that's just so you understand, like we have to pivot a little bit with this meeting. And now we're going to move into the presentation and discussions portion. The part A is a request for a letter of support for Hope Community. Briefly, I'll just remind everyone, Hope Community came in last month, did an excellent presentation on how they're handling violations and amongst other things in their properties. And in that, during that presentation at the end, they mentioned the need for a letter of support from Council Member Salam regarding a grant for, it was the Lexington preservation. So they're here tonight to ask for that letter. I spoke with Angel. I know we have the procedure of usually having to review something and then voting it on the following month. But since we kind of had the details of what the ask was for, if the committee's comfortable with voting on this letter tonight, that will be fine. But obviously that'll be up to this committee. So with that said, I know Walter is here. I see there's also a Norman Williams. So I don't know who wants to speak, but the floor is yours.
So I can start. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for inviting Norman and I back to speak to you about our project. Just to summarize, the community has done rehabilitation of the majority of its buildings over the last 10 or more years. The project that we want to renovate now, the group of buildings we want to renovate now, are some of our, in terms of our portfolio, some of the oldest buildings that we have. They were last renovated through programs that are no longer at HPD, Special Initiative Program. And I apologize, I forgot what the acronym for SOS stood for, but these are programs that were geared towards rehabilitating buildings and then placing formerly homeless people in them. Uh, the buildings in and of themselves need extensive repairs. They need entire building heating system.
Walter, your volume's pretty low.
Sorry. Let me switch.
Yeah, so it's not us.
Can you hear me
Yeah,
better?
try to.
Yeah,
Yes.
we hear you better now.
All right, I apologize. So the group of buildings that we want to renovate now are formerly SIP and SOS buildings that were last renovated under city ownership. And they're probably at this point approaching 20 more years where there's no substantial work that have been done. Obviously, we do continuous maintenance, but these buildings need total new building envelopes, new heat system, new kitchens, new bathrooms, plumbing, electrical, the works. There are 10 buildings totaling about roughly 213 units and 11 commercial spaces. They're spatially located from about 124th Street and Lexington Avenue, further south to about, what's the furthest, 100th Street, from Lexington over to First, and they're just spread throughout. They're not contiguous. So our plan is through one of HPD's programs, and Norman can go into a lot more detail about the program, to renovate these buildings and do some substantial upgrades so that the families that live there in much improved housing. One of the asks of HPD as part of the process to access the funds is to get support letters from the various city council people. In this case, there are two separate city council members. One is Deputy Speaker Ayala's office. The other.
Walter, okay, no, you're good. You froze for a second.
Oh, and the other is Council Member Salam. So we, as part of the process, have been sending letters and requesting meetings with the council member's office, and we're using this opportunity to hopefully get him to recognize our request through the community board. So I don't know if Norman wants to add to anything I've said.
Thank you. So I would just add that the request of the support letter that we're seeking is for a tax abatement, Article 11, not a grant. As you guys know, the Article 11 supports not paying taxes on the residential portion of the project, which allows us to have deeper affordability. So that pass-through doesn't relate to the small business commercial tenants. We will initiate leases with reimbursable taxes for that. But another request that we try to do is make sure that we're keeping the small business footprint kind of vibrant in East Harlem and just making sure that those rents are affordable to business operators as well. So that's probably a different act down the line, but I just want to be clear that the Article 11 is for the residential component of the project. So the funding that we're going for is a typical HPD PLP, which stands for Participating Loan Program. In most cases, the rents are going to remain in line to what residents has been paying. In order to support some of the capital work, we do structure rent restructures or rent increases they would typically be on the vacant units, the project, so it wouldn't be on the backs of someone living there. And they will probably range from somewhere around 70% or 80% AMI. And it's just to have a more kind of mix, rent mix income population so that we can support the capital needs. This is a project that is not receiving any equity, so there's no, equity financing like low income tax credits or anything like that. It's basically, grants that's going to pay operating expenses as well as debt service. And the goal is to, continue to keep rents affordable, continue to be able to have buildings not go into a distress state of repair and become uninhabitable. This project actually consists of 11 scatter site buildings. We chose to preserve 10 of them. I think in the past, this community board has been supportive of some of our efforts of trying to upzone other properties that were more in the Lexington corridor. But there is one building that sits very adjacent to a sanitation site that I think a lot of you folks are familiar with that's not part of this refinancing. So we would probably at a later time look to have a workout plan for that building. But we chose not to put it into this preservation for the hopes of we can develop something bigger, better, and be able to service more community folks looking for affordable housing. The scope of work is pretty consistent to tenant in place, much needed, envelopes, roof, facades, basement, heating services, HVAC, windows, etc. We are attempting to also do flooring, which is pretty unique to preservation sites because it's a little harder to do with people in place. But there's been a lot of great products that has made that easier over the years. We do have a couple of buildings that are being considered for electrification. So we will be getting away from using oil to more sustainable electric system that will provide heating and cooling. Not all the buildings, I would say we have 3 buildings right now that are on target for this electrification. And then we do have other buildings that are in the floodplain, and we're working through design resiliency measures to make sure, buildings don't get flooded, and we don't lose a lot of our central equipment. All of these repairs and all of this capitalization just allows us to maintain affordability and be able to have projects that can, not undergo physical distress, in the, at least for another 15 to 30 years. And to Walter's point, these projects was originally, in most cases, these positioned by the city HPE when they were actually doing the rehab themselves and looking for kind of community groups to take on ownership thereafter. So in some cases, the aesthetics, how the construction was done wasn't the best. Time has evolved, and I believe we all got smarter with construction and technology, but we are at times trying to right some of those wrongs in the footprint in which if we can correct it.
Okay. He's like, all right, you're done?
Yes.
Okay. No, I didn't know. Yeah. All right. Thank you. All right. Are there any questions from any of the committee members? Jessica?
I just have a question. So, one is maybe a point of clarification, but then you may be privy to the information. And the other is more generally to Hope Community. The original conversation we had was with regard to violations. It's my understanding, if I recall from our last meeting, that there was an acknowledgement that a bulk of the violations are in these buildings that will be rehabilitated. Is that correct?
I could pull up the table we made.
That is correct. The violations oftentimes are tethered to some of the significant repairs that need to be done in the building or buildings. There are plumbing issues. There are electrical issues that we've had. We've got a number of the boilers in at least 3 of these buildings have had to be replaced. We worked through some of the programs that the state offered to get access to their lower priced uh, uh, products. But overall, the systems are failing. Roofs are failing. Windows don't work because and tenants are uncomfortable. So they have obviously seek support from either code enforcement or the courts to address some of the issues that we are not able to do with repairs. So through the capital campaign, we hope to take care of the substantial rehabilitation needs to be done, and through that, correct some of the uh, violations that still remain open.
Understood. Yeah, I thought that was the correlation, which is why I asked for clarification. And then I'm just undertaking capital projects in 10 buildings at one time while trying to maintain a real, cost effectiveness in doing those renovations is a real challenging job that you have set out. Do you have a sense, if all goes as planned, how long the entire cluster project will take for all 10 buildings? Is there a phased process among those 10 buildings during that time period of active project?
Yeah, I mean, I would say we had some experience doing this in the past, learning from, pros and cons of trying to be too robust to trying to be too light touch. We had a project in which we done, I want to say 504 units over 39 buildings, which was done over like a 24-month process. A lot of times the construction aspect may be done within 24 months, but sometimes you do have construction administration and DOB closeout and access issues that we have to build into the timeline. So, 10 buildings, within 24 months, some probably would say 18 months could be done, but I do want to tack some time into the construction administration. Um, and we're working with some experienced general contractors where they really specialize in preservation, construction versus new construction, making people feel comfortable knowing that there's going to be challenges, there's going to be dust, there's going to be, there still has to be a spectrum of how we manage and maintain the building, even though they're in construction, not making people feel like they're in construction over 2 years. So there's a lot of community engagement and tenant relations that we're putting part of this rehab. So I think all of those kind of endeavors collectively, had some, humane experiences to it to make sure people feel heard, make sure that, we're all visual and we're doing all of the follow-up and kind of asset management while doing rehab during the construction time frame.
Thank you. Any other questions? I have a question, but I just want to see if there are other questions. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
Mr. Williams, in regards to the electrification from gas to some of these buildings, have you looked into whether or not steam could be something that can be used?
So some buildings we actually have steam. Steam is, a very old system as well. And steam typically is furnished by gas, instead of, being distributed through a water, is distributed through a steam pipe system. But steam in some cases is a very hard system to balance. We do have buildings that have steam where you would see the top floors, overheated and some of the lower floors underheated. So it's just from an efficiency system, it's very hard to maintain and balance. So all of the buildings will be getting new boilers, but where we do have oil use systems, the goal has been to trying to get to electricity versus going to gas.
And my last question is regarding, since you're gonna be working in buildings that have tenants in it, are you thinking of relocating any of the tenants so you can fix the one building like really quick and then like checkerboard them? Would that be something, option within the 10, buildings that you have?
Yes, that's an excellent question. We do have, purposely, intentionally, we have warehoused a lot of our vacant units so that we can internal checkerboard. A lot of times systems are done vertically instead of floor by floor. We do know that we have to meet the Section 504 Rehabilitation Act, which for mobility impaired persons as well as visual and hearing. So I believe there's 7% of that population of the 190 or the 213, excuse me, that needs to be relocated. So we do have that in our budget. There is always other folks that we factor in who's going to have health related concerns or, just other concerns where, in place construction is not something that's going to work for them. So we typically estimate somewhere around 25 to 30% of the population may have to go through some sorts of relocation, whether it's internal, kind of through like a hospitality suite, or located off the premises of any of these buildings until we're able to stabilize their building and bring them back.
Thank you.
Any other questions? And nobody?
Nothing online.
Okay, I guess just to clarify, so the letter of support is, you'd like us to say that we support the Lexington Hope Preservation Project to receive the Article 11 exemption, is that correct?
Yes, and I would
And
think,
that would be-
yeah, and I would just also say further, I thought if there was some collaboration that could be worked out with Councilperson Salam, where we could end up with that support as well.
Right,
So,
we would direct the letter to, that would be directed to Councilmember Salam.
okay, great.
And I heard Ayala, Councilmember, but you don't need the letter to Councilmember Ayala, do you?
We received that one so far. Thank you.
Gotcha. Okay, just wanted everyone to know exactly what this letter would
And
entail.
my understanding of the Article 11, that these support letters does, I guess, give the assurance to HPD that this is something that the community board and council members is aware of and has discussed. But there is a process, as you guys probably know, where HPD will bring this back in front of you guys, at a later point as well.
Thank you. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we write the letter of support for Hope Community.
Okay.
Second.
Beverly seconded. Thank you, Candy. Beverly said it first. All right, so there's a motion to write the letter of support for Hope Community to Councilmember Salam, supporting them receiving the Article 11 exemption for Lexington Hope Preservation Project. And that motion was seconded by Beverly. Angel, can you take, well, since people are online, can you do the roll?
Oh, yeah, sure. Adem Briha,
Yes.
David Giordano,
Yes. You heard me, Angel?
John.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Aye.
John Green.
Aye.
Gotcha. Thank you, John. Christina Johnson,
Yes.
Jessica Morris,
Yes.
Beverly Pavone,
Yes.
Candy Vasquez, Vivas Vasquez.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Jason Wu,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right, thank you, Walter. Thank you, Norman. That was very informative, and I wish you the best of luck with
One
this.
more question. Is
Yeah,
there
thank
time
you
Thank
very
you. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night.
Sorry, Beverly, you want to ask, just one second,
Is there
Beverly.
a timeline of when you need this letter of support? a deadline as to when you need this?
I don't think so. If,
Okay.
we're gonna vote on it this month at full
Okay.
board, yeah. So, all right, you gentlemen can leave. Thank you so much.
Oh, you just-
All
Or
right,
you
good
can
night.
stay, but, I mean, you could stay or leave. I just assume leave. I don't want to be presumptuous, but, okay. Thank you, everybody. We'll move, this should be a quick meeting. I'm gonna report back on the walkthrough I did of East River Houses with Teresa Richardson, who I believe was a community board
Oh, yeah.
member, right, for a long time. And so I did the walkthrough. It was, I went, let her show me around. It was more of just, we didn't go in anything. We just tore the common grounds. There was a lot of work being done there. They're doing a lot of like repointing of the brickwork. They had generators out there because they're getting their boilers replaced. They had their playgrounds renovated. So I said, like, hey, is there anything you want to show me that's an issue or anything? And she's like, we're doing pretty good here, which was like very nice to hear. And I said, well, that's good. There was one concern, and it's my fault that I haven't thought to follow up yet, but there's like don't hold me to the exact details right now, but like on the FDR, where the bike path is on the other side, I guess there's a way that people coming off of that bike path come and then they turn down to go like, and they,
102nd.
yeah, and there's just been a lot of robberies, assaults, et cetera there. So that was a concern. She walked me over there, showed me the spot. So my fault for not following up, but I will be notifying, because that seems more of like a public safety concern. So I will be passing that information over to Michelle.
The shed that's there, that's been up for like 2 years, more 2 or 3 years
Yeah.
since the work started.
Yeah, there's
Much darker with the shed.
yes,
as opposed
right.
to-
And in the daytime, you're right, because there were a bunch of people working there, which in the daytime is nice, but then at nighttime it makes it,
Dark.
and it's, you turn off, you don't see them, apparently they wait there, whoever's doing this, and it's been an issue.
So, Dan, I'm sure you maybe discussed it, but that's the footbridge, the point of contact to Randall's and Morris Island, and that was before things changed radically, with the incoming or the new administration, was a super high traffic area, relative to folks who were, asylum seekers staying on Randall's Island. So the traffic patterns were traffic patterns, all traffic patterns, bike traffic patterns, scooter traffic patterns, and everything has changed a lot in the past 4 months. So, but the sightlines and shady business that can happen under sheds apparently was, so it didn't help the situation.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I know, like, because I live near Wagner, and for the longest time, there was like a cop car just always parked there. I don't really know, but that isn't there anymore. But I just do, I agree with you, the shed and all that, but there has to be something. It seems like it's a recurring problem. And, she did seem alarmed by that. So I will be referring that over to public safety and, maybe connecting them with her and seeing how they can involve the 25th precinct in that and see, if there's something that can be done. 23rd, sorry, 23rd. Okay, so other than that, like I said, it was a good walkthrough. There's a lot of good work being done there. A lot of things are getting fixed that needed to be fixed or updated that needed to be updated. I think one of the concerns again was like the programming there for youth, et cetera. There isn't really space for that. There is something that's being rented, but the NYCHA rents it out. It's some kind of program, but like it doesn't necessarily always serve people that are living there. And, I asked about that, but apparently like NYCHA can at times do what they want with the commercial space, and the tenant leaders and the tenants themselves don't have much say in what goes in there and who it's serving. So that's just something I think to keep in mind. So with that said, overall good walkthrough. I've actually been talked to Candy, who's obviously a member of this committee and board, and we're gonna try to set something up for Johnson. And then there've been a couple other, Xavier's set up some group text with me and some of the other tenant leaders of other properties. So we're gonna, keep these walkthroughs going. And as always, I will let everybody know when they are, and if you can make it, you can make it, and if you can't, you can't.
What's the next one we're going to?
There's nothing planned yet, and I've been waiting on Loretta too, so there's a bunch, it's just, well, we'll get later, it's been hard to always coordinate things, but I understand that people have their schedules, and then, yeah, Jessica?
And I know this is something that comes up, and it's great to hear that for these river houses, there wasn't a lot of sort of lack of traction, right, in what they needed. But what is our process for following up and continuing to
Well,
engage where we've already been?
I
Is there
mean-
one or not really?
I've promised to do follow-up walkthroughs. They have my contact information. Nobody has made a specific ask from any of them. So I try to stay in contact, but, at the same time, it's like, I want to let the purpose, I think, is to let them know that the board is here and the board is involved. We're showing up. There's a line of communication there that hasn't been there. I will do my due diligence in reaching out, but at the same time, I don't want to be annoying. And I trust that, and maybe I could be more explicit about it, but I trust that I have. I mean, we did the walkthrough, like, let me know if there's something and we'll bring it to the table. That hasn't happened yet. Because when I did Wagner with Diane, I said to her, like, this isn't a one-time thing. We can do them again. And that would be another way of following up. I think the process is, once there is something brought to our attention, I'm trying to get, which I will get, I had actually sent the chair of our board after one of our meetings, some questions. I think it was after Washington houses. I had some concerns. He told me to direct the questions through him, that he would send them to Brian Honan, who's the head of NYCHA, I guess, and I never heard back. I don't know if those questions were forwarded or not. So I've been accused of saying that I would go over some.
He's on, so you can ask him.
Oh, Xavier, yeah, that was in reference to you, so maybe you want to speak to those questions I sent.
Yeah, they were forwarded on to Brian Honan, and pleased to easily pass that baton on for you to take over. And I appreciate all the work you're doing. Brian Honan has been overwhelmed. I've had to chase him down to follow up on his personal cell. And I appreciate all the work this committee is doing. When I came back to the board in 2015 and reconnected with a lot of NYCHA's intent, and I appreciate everyone's work in reconnecting with NYCHA and passing that baton to all the committee members to see the lived experiences of our public housing. So it has been, it's been a bit of herding cats with that agency, but I think for the next steps, as you discussed, is that it not only it changes the optics and shows that we're present and we're available and we want to make a difference, but then we are able to apply the real world applications to our budget requests, the current conditions, and be able to advocate going forward. And that includes beyond just budget requests with the service request, if they're not getting traction with their tickets that get filed, or if there are things that are more substantive that require 311 and cataloging. As we saw with Lexington and Washington, they're sharing one super right now. This is challenging for the developments as we see what's happening and what they're experiencing and trying to overcome those challenges of maintenance and yeah. So thank you. So and as soon as I get a response, and I will circle back and get everyone connected. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Jessica?
So between Washlex and East River Houses is Central North Plaza, which is part of the PACRAD program. There's lingering construction, boiler replacement, some public space improvements, some really shoddy stuff that has happened. I know Ascended is part of that process, and I'm not sure if any points of contact have been made or because of where they're at in their process as a development, if that makes sense, but, what's gone on there isn't right, and I don't think there's, a voice relative to, seeing, like a staircase that goes up and doesn't connect to anything, like a, like really wasteful, you know what I'm talking about?
No, but it sounds really.
Yeah, no, it's absurd. I've had conversations with tenants about it and tenants who will not be there after, the development transition. And playground that is so poorly renovated, it's awful, and it has, there's a stop work order, it has not been, accessible, has been finished for like 2 years, there's no accessible, so, I'm not sure.
I'm sorry, is this East Ribbon?
No, Metro Plaza,
Metro.
it's, between first and second, 101 and 102.
All right, well, thank you for bringing up Ascendant. I said in the beginning, was supposed to be here, speaking specifically to RadPac, but not that. They're supposed to come in June. I think that would be an excellent time to bring this up with them.
Bring some pictures.
No, please. It's been a little, to be, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. It's been a little frustrating. This meeting was supposed to happen already. But hopefully June, if they don't come in June, we'll,
Stop playing nice.
yeah, thank you. Yeah,
I'll stop playing nice.
no, and it's fine. I think like the approach, at least in my mind, and you're all welcome, has been like use honey, bring them in, and that's what I always like to do. But there comes a point where we will switch the approach, and so June, let's hope it happens. If it doesn't, and come with all that. Thank you, Christina.
So I reached out to Leroy Williams from NYCHA because we had the conversation about inviting him. He's the vice president in the rental section of NYCHA. And he's been pressuring us to join the Red Act group. But I have not heard from them. I've also put in calls and.
It's funny you bring that up because it refreshes my memory. When I went to East River Houses, there was a decent amount of apartments that sit there vacant. And I was like, well, what's the process in getting these units filled? And it just sounds like it's like.
But I think NYCHA is supposed to maintain 5% of the stock in a development
Vacant?
as vacant.
So they can relocate?
Right, so they're used for relocations, right, because we've had relocations of domestic abuse women, or homeless, fire victims. They have relocated them to our development till their apartments are reconstructed. So that 5% goes to them.
How often, if you don't mind me asking, or if you don't know, like how often are they sitting empty for a long time and then?
Yes.
Like I want to know, it'd be nice to know how active they are, because I'm sure that need is there all the time, but is it being done efficiently or is there a lot of lag in between? Oh, it sits empty for 5 months, then they put somebody in.
I think there's a lot of lag.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of lag, but we've had some people in our development for long periods of time, but they were only supposed to be transient, only for a short period of time. So, but I do know that we do have some vacancies.
Gotcha. And it makes sense. I think it'd be a good thing to try to find out how, I know you said 5%, but just, I guess then how efficient they are with actually occupying that as much as possible with the needs. Thank you though. And then if you get any traction on, maybe September. All right, Beverly?
I was gonna ask regarding the 5%, is that for all of NYCHA developments?
It's supposed to be, but I can't quote that as law.
Okay.
I just know that that's what I was told, and I know that in my development, we do have some vacancies. I don't know if it's a full 5%, less than 5, more than 5. But we've also had seniors leaving us. So we've had some other vacancies, and I don't know if that counts into the 5% or if those are just vacant now and they're trying to fill them, so.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Also, in regards to vacant units, I know with the city making this new program for a year where landlords and can don't have to go through Housing Connect in order to rent vacant units, that if first come, first served, people can go straight to the landlords or management agents to do an application or stuff for the vacant units.
And NYCHA doing that?
I don't know if NYCHA is part of that, but I know this is something that the
Just
city,
happened,
it's just started May 1st, and it's supposed to be doing it for 1 year. I'm not sure how many, if they only dealing with the people or the buildings that's in Housing Connect,
Right.
or is it only all of HPD buildings, regardless if they're in Housing Connect or not? They have that right to rent instead of going through these long processes.
Right.
To streamline it, yeah.
Right, to streamline, and it's a project that we're kind of trying to look into for vacancies. We don't know, like I said, if it's for all on HPD buildings or just those that's in the Housing Connect. And we need more details.
Right. Do you know the name of the program?
It's all the ones that are subject to the housing lottery.
It's all the ones that are subject to the housing, okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
Do you know the name of
Is there, do they have a name for it? I don't know if they have a name for it.
I don't think so.
Yeah. but
So,
it's-
question, how would someone know, which buildings that they could just walk in and talk to the
Right.
managers?
Right, we don't know, because they don't have a listing that I know of where they listing the buildings, they may have vacancies and people going straight there, as long as I guess if the income guidelines are met, or, everything is gone through, but it's a faster process where you're not supposed to have to wait for it to go through Housing Connect. It's just a year program that they just started May 1st, and I'm trying to get more details.
Yeah, maybe you get more details and we can spread some awareness, so, because these programs are good, but sometimes people aren't even aware of them, right? I mean, if we're hearing it for the first time and we are more plugged in,
Right.
thank you. It also just, it's kind of unrelated, and I gotta follow up with the details from Teresa, like, I guess she gets a certain amount of, you would, Christina, you'd probably know this better than me, like, a certain amount of money she can spend, on certain,
Yes.
right, but it
Those
was
are-
very restricted. She says she saved up a lot of money because, like, there's a big kitty of money because she can only buy certain things, like folding tables or whatever. Like, I was like, can you buy computers? She's like, no, there's, like,
That's not true.
oh, that's
Yeah,
not true.
That's not true.
Oh.
So every year, we get something called TPA funds, which is
That's what it was.
tenant participatory activity funding, right? So the funding is based on the number of occupied units in your development. So we get, I believe it's $14
Per unit?
per unit, well, it's $25, I'm sorry. It's $25 per unit, but $10 goes to management for whatever they need, right? We get 15, right? So that 15 multiplied by the occupied,
Per year.
right, per year. So I get 6,000 and some change every year to spend. You can spend it on Family Day. You can spend it on office equipment, office furniture, office supplies, refreshments, right? But this year, they can change the whole system on us. So now, we used to be able to fill out one form called a proposal for everything you needed for the quarter or for the year.
Right.
Now, you fill out the form telling them everything that you need, right? They give you money for transportation and refreshments. Then you have to fill out a form for every single thing that you want, right? Yeah, paper pushers.
Did they
and
give the
cut-
reason why they had to change this process, or they just did
I
it?
called because now they won't even accept my receipts because they're pictures, right? So I was told that some people have abused the process,
Gotcha.
and so everybody has to,
Yeah,
pay
they
for
can't
it.
start, they gotta make it one.
Yeah. So, but I go straight to the horse's mouth and I'm like, listen, this is what we need. If you want us to function, We need to, so I'm allowed to buy a computer this year because we don't have one. And office furniture, and because I know people, I've been able to kind of maneuver my refreshments so that I can get what I want.
Got it.
Mhm.
Thank you. Any other?
Yeah, because refreshments now is only coffee, tea, juice, soda water, cookies, donuts, and I'm like, we have nighttime meetings.
Yeah, can we get something more substantial?
Yeah, you're gonna give grown-ups and kids a donut.
Get
or
some, at
cookies.
least some pizza or something.
Yeah, something, so.
I'd be happy to bring pizza. You don't even need the budget for it. Okay, we'll move to C and we're gonna be wrapped up pretty soon. So the fiscal year 2026 budget has, I don't believe, been released yet. But we had shared it in the agenda, the fiscal year 2025 budget. I mean, I just thought it was worth reviewing. I think I just made a few notes of kind of like what I saw in 2025 that wasn't really done that I would like to kind of see in this one. So I just had a few like quick notes. Right in the intro of the document, it says that the budget, once again, had excluded the Housing Access Voucher Program, which would have provided rental assistance to low-income New Yorkers experiencing homelessness and at risk of being evicted from their apartments or units. So clearly, that wasn't something that was just asked for the 2025. The language says that it's at least happened before. So I think I heard that maybe that was being looked into for this one, but that's just something I'm keeping my eye out for. I didn't, in this report at least, see anything specific to senior housing. That was another thing. And then I think, those are my concerns. And then, oh yeah, I'm sorry, and the topic of public housing and NYCHA. The budget for 2025 had included $140 million, which was significantly less than the $500 million proposed in both the Senate and Assembly, and $75 million for public housing outside of New York City. So I think that's another thing I'd like to keep my eye on, see what was proposed this time. And so last time, I mean, wasn't even a third of what was asked for in terms of that. So, yeah.
In FY 2025, FY 2026?
No, 2025. This is from the last one. So they haven't released 2026. Thought it was just useful that we review this. So I made my notes of what I thought. Yeah, sorry if I thought I said it, but if I wasn't super clear. It was just, I think, identifying what the deficiencies were in 2025, so that when this one comes out, we kind of have idea. This wasn't, I guess, I started sharing this in between, so I kind of think I'd like to see what happens in 2026. So obviously we have the budget process and everything, but like we can just start taking a stance, proactively kind of figure out what. Go ahead, Jessica.
So there's some pretty serious changes happening at the federal level that are going to impact what we're seeing. And so I know our mandate is to deal with the city budget. At the same time, I think it's not uncommon for Senator Schumer to show up at our meeting every now and again and sort of, these things happen. But that a community where housing advocacy has paved many policy pathways and successfully done a lot of really great things. I think we can exercise our voice in this housing space because the funding streams do matter in a way where it's my understanding that some very recent, not cuts, but like pull the tablecloth from everything that's going on right now type of thing means that units are not funded, units that we've approved, units that are in process, shovels in the ground, blow the whistle and stop because, so I'm not sure. I can try to be a little bit more specific about some of those things and bring them to this table if there may be an appetite to speak up about them in the right kind of way.
Yeah.
But related to budget, not just from this immediate, but also from the other trickle down situations.
That's a great idea, thank you. Okay, any other comments on this, or we'll just keep this train rolling?
My only concern is that when I'm looking at this, things regarding the programs and the units and what they get, it just bothers me that, they don't give enough affordable housing percentage for buildings, from 6 units all the way up to over 150 units. It seems like the higher of the buildings you get, you're getting less, percentage of affordable housing. Because they have the small units, 6 units, and 50% of them, you know, you do it for a small building, you need to do it for a big building and have more units.
Yeah.
You know, because these developers are getting a really big kickback of not paying taxes or exemptions for these many years. You know, so I would like to see that increase of affordability percentage to rise with buildings more 6 units and better.
Okay, I mean, I think that it'd be useful once this 2026 gets released, that we examine it, you know, amongst other things, and kind of note what we felt was deficient there. I just, yeah, and I thought this was a good thing, so we kind of have, you know, certain things in our heads moving, and, oh, sorry, Angel, go ahead.
No, be sorry. Just wanted to share with you guys something, like a good resource that I use a lot for this kind of stuff is the New York Housing Conference website. They also offer a newsletter that you can sign up for, and they give you, I don't know if it's daily, but weekly at least, updates in your inbox, and they summarize, you know, all the housing policies going on. There's a number of other resources, but that one I find particularly useful, the New York Housing Conference, and it's where we got this summary last year. So they prepared that, mostly focused on that new version of 421A, but also touched on all the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go to their site now, and you, not this very moment, but there's a tab for budget analysis, and they have analysis of all 3 levels of government there for the, as it relates to housing for each of the tiers.
Thanks.
So if you want to dive in there, that's a place to dive in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so with that said, we will move into old business. This should be very brief. It's more of like updates or announcements. So the senior housing resolution that we had passed and then repassed because we had to direct it to our state representatives. I did send out an email to all the state representatives, and I had Angel get me all their contacts, including their chiefs of staff or reps. And I resent them the resolution that they were all sent, and just said, you know, can you provide us any updates on, you know, has this been looked at? Has it been discussed? You know, are you in support of it, et cetera? I didn't, obviously, I got like some response, a couple of responses were like, oh, I don't work here anymore. It's, you know, reach out and stuff. There was like a lot of that. Let me essentially say, I didn't get anything of real substance. So I will be following up this week, just saying, hey, you know, the idea, you know, that it was like, you know, there have been times where things get passed and they get passed and they get forgotten. And this was like something we took a stand on. I don't think it's super difficult. Department of Finance, things already expressed that they'd be okay with it if the state would pass it. I mean, and if they can't, I'd at least like to know the reason, right? Than getting silence. So I will keep following up with that. It's fully transparent. I include Angel and everything. I just don't want to bombard everybody with constant emails. So when I get meaningful responses, those will always be shared, but I'm not going to share crickets. I'm just going to tell you about them when we're here. All right, so Jessica, then Angel.
There's a Department of the Aging, citywide agency. They may be an ally in getting some traction. So I'm not sure if there's a point of contact. I know NIAM, the Academy of Medicine, they worked closely with the forget what the agency is called for the aging.
DIFTA? An agency or the department, DIFTA?
The Department for the Aging, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Am I saying department? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But they work closely with NIAM, which is in our district, so we may have a point of contact there that, would say, yes, this is the person at so-and-so's office or in such and such a committee that will assess.
Okay. That's very helpful. I'll have Angel see if we can figure that out. And now, Angel.
I was just gonna loop back to Beverly's question.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
That's okay. About the lottery thing.
Yep.
And then another recommendation. So there was an article in the city at news website. If you're not subscribed or following that, do that. It's a cheat sheet essentially for community board members, in my opinion. It's very helpful. And David Brand is the house policy person, which everybody knows. Also massive cheat. So in this article, which is not by David, but it says that eligible apartment seekers will be able to apply directly instead of going through the city's lottery system, and landlords and brokers will be able to process those applications on a first come, first serve, and they can market them anywhere. After the landlord or broker verifies the applicant's eligibility, the applicant can submit their information to HPD for approval. So it still has to be approved through there. And if approved, then the tenant can move. I sent you all a link to that article in the agenda email.
Thank you. Did you say you had something else too, or am I?
No, I
You just
I wove it in.
Gotcha. Okay, nice. Okay, we will, so that's still being followed up on. Thank you, Jessica, and I will definitely, that's a great idea, and thank you, Angel. All right, and
I
then,
have a point of contact at NIAM, right?
okay, if you do, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Look into it.
I think once we start reaching out there, I might put some pressure on them too, right? So that'd be a great idea. Then meeting with HPD and the tenant association of 2 East 127th Street regarding ANCP. I was hoping that I was able to tell everyone that we were gonna have a meeting May 19th at 6:30 PM here with the tenant leaders, HPD. It's Darlene Maxwell. There was this attempt to try to have that gentleman, Anthony, from 311 Pleasant Avenue that was here last month, and then the one at 98th Street to have three. Seems like right now we've only been able to communicate with Darlene Maxwell, who says she's only assigned to 2 East 127th Street. So then we're like, you know what, let's just have that meeting. Some personal matters on some, not on our end, has now caused that meeting to be rescheduled to sometime in June. I think June 24th was proposed, which was supposed to be our full board meeting, but now that got moved to June 17th. So,
Okay.
so that date, I gotta find out if that date works for, I'll make myself free. But if it works for Angel, and then we'll make sure it works for HPD. If not, we'll try to put another date for June on the books. I will let you all know when we have that meeting, and you're all welcome to attend. I will set it up like this too. If you want, you don't have to come in. I know it's in the summer, it might be after our last official meeting, but we may have a summer meeting. I think we're gonna need one. So, with that said, does anyone have any comments on it? That was an update. There's not really a discussion there. Okay, so then we'll move into new business. There is no new business. So Angel, if you could take the roll.
Members, when I call your name, please answer present. Dan Brehan.
Present.
David Giordano.
Present.
John Green.
Here.
Christina Johnson.
Present.
Jessica Morris.
Here.
Beverly Pavone.
Present.
Candy Vivas Vasquez.
Present.
Thank you. Jason Wu.
Present.
We have quorum.
All right, thank you, everyone. Have a great night and a great rest of your week.
Okay, good night.
Meeting's adjourned.
Good night.
There you go.
Good night all.
Let's do the